Hello, everybody. Welcome to Revelation Now podcast, Rev Now podcast. We back, and today we're going to be talking about time, which is a pretty big subject in the sci-fi world. Time travel. And it's also something you see along this line because we're looking at the last days, end times, in connection with the modern world, how things have increased in believing in aliens, UFOs, demons, what's happening, the increase, the paranormal, looking at that. But this subject of time, you'll notice it comes up quite a bit. And I've been looking at the scriptures again. What does God have to say about time? And we actually did a series on it. And I'm here, by the way, with Tyler Trent. He's over here, right there. See him right there. And then I see Jason here, right there.
I see you guys.
What's up?
Yeah, and we've been having a blast on this podcast. We thank y'all for listening. And I was reminded of 1981, if you can go back there at all, of the film Time Bandits. I took that and made a sermon series out of it, the Time Bandits. And I don't know if you remember, I forgot about it. It was those who were in it. Sean Connery was in it. Did you know that, Sean Connery? John Cleese, Michael Palin. And it stars and others. Those were the Monty Python guys. And it says the film tells the story, and I remember seeing it as a kid, and it was one of those popular films on VCR too, tape, pretty big blockbuster rental. I think it got bigger on the rental side than it was at the theater. A young boy is taken on an adventure through time with a band of thieves who plunder treasure from various points in history. It's one of the Terry Gilliam films.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's him?
Mm-hmm.
So it has that kind of, his style and the way he does
Favorite. I love him.
He has
One
some
of my
good
favorites.
stuff.
Brazil's amazing too.
Yeah, Brazil was in there. That's an 80s one too that he did. So the idea, if you could go back, would you do it? In time, would it still be the same? I know it's a big question. Would you do it?
Yeah. Well, and I think the prevailing thing too is, well, you can, but just don't touch anything. Or you'll ruin.
That's the theory, right?
Yeah.
Always.
The butterfly effect. Like
Yeah.
you can't you can go there, just don't.
That's the back.
Certainly
to the future
don't find.
effect.
Certainly don't find yourself.
Yeah.
Don't talk to you.
Don't you explode or something?
Well,
Are
Jason was talking about this recently with us. How it's I don't know if annoying's the right word, but it's just like every single plot anymore is time travel, multiverse.
Yeah.
Multiverse. It's just like the current kind of cop-out go-to storyline.
We saw with the kids. We saw the Spider-Man, the latest one, and I hurt my head after a while. It's like, what?
Yeah, and don't.
I got
and
it
don't
to a degree,
don't
but
bring
it's just
Christopher
like,
Nolan into the equation, and you start really hurting.
Well, his cracked me up. He ended up. Remember, he's a little dude, Matthew McConaughey. At the end, he's just this little dude in the wall.
Oh, it's the best.
What in the world?
He was
Spoiler
tiny.
alert, by the way, people.
Tiny Elvis.
Oh, don't. Oh, yeah. We can't. Are we not allowed to talk?
No,
Films?
but it's prevalent. It's another one of these issues that we talk
Isn't it
about on this
escape?
podcast.
Isn't it but would you go back if you could? Would you? But everything would have to be the same, and then you'd make different decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It all turns into gobbledygook whenever.
But you can't. Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't work.
It's funny that you chose Time Bandits and Terry Gilliam because the movie that is my all-time favorite time travel movie is also a Terry Gilliam movie, which is 12 Monkeys.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And in 12 Monkeys, though, it does have a purpose because they're trying to correct a massive wrong, which was this plague that gets let out.
That's a gospel feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I kept seeing it all throughout. And so there's that idea too. Like, well, if we can go back in the time, we can right a wrong. And you see that, I see that as a tie-in, especially in the biblical themes, big time, both personal and in grand motifs.
Right.
But in 12 Monkeys, oh my gosh, the cast is so good. It's so good. Bruce Willis, he's James Cole. I think it's year 2035, something like that. But it's great too because it's not your classic, like, getting in some fancy rocket ship or time travel thing. It's like really weird. These weird apparatus and stuff.
I remember that now you say, yeah.
Tracking through your teeth and he doesn't know if he's like insane, if he's just losing his mind. He can't really track what's real and what's not real. And that's 12 Monkeys is my favorite.
They go back.
They do. They go back to this moment and what's great too, they think that it's a certain thing. I don't want to ruin if people haven't seen the movie.
Boy, you hopefully.
The army of the 12 Monkeys.
30 years old.
They think that.
I think you're allowed.
Am I okay?
You have 30 years.
We're past the statute.
I'm pretty sure. I hope
No,
so.
it's great because
you got to talk about it.
They think the whole thing has to do with this army of the 12 Monkeys. And they're wrong the whole time. And
I remember it now.
Yeah, and it's really just kind of this benign group with Brad Pitt, who's also so good in that movie.
Yeah.
Too late.
He, what was good about back then, or how Gilliam did, there wasn't a lot of CGI. So he had to use the feel of it.
Yeah, he very much tone.
What do you call it? The apocalypse feel, or end of the world feel, and the rundown town, the cities.
Yeah.
Because I think it did happen. Wasn't there some sort of how did we get here? That was their point. We got to go back and.
Yeah, well, they just want to. They're living
here.
underground, which is always such a theme too. With apocalyptic stuff.
Is it the one where they can't go outside, right? Because of the atmosphere?
Yeah, well, it's this thing's just out there that got, released that they think by the army of the 12 Monkeys.
Right. I got to see that again.
It really holds
been
up.
a while,
We showed
but it
Noah,
really
like during the pandemic, we did the whole making the best of time, and we educated our boy on all these great movies, and that was one that really landed. It holds up. It's fantastic. It's a cool movie.
That's where that I did a study on time. Somehow I ended up studying on the time, time, and the scriptures, and ended up actually it messed with me.
An actual rabbit hole, a time travel.
The scriptures messed with me. It actually, I got scared in studying what the Bible has to say about time. I found and scared in a way where like a wake up call. Like, what does the scriptures have to say about time? And I realized it says you better get to moving because it's quick time. But you're saying how you can go back. It doesn't say, the scriptures doesn't say you can go back. But you can have things restored. Mm-hmm. The Lord can help you make up for wasted time. You can redeem the time. That was the verse. Mm-hmm. Redeeming the time, for the days are evil. Like, what does that mean? One translation says, pay attention to how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of the time. Ephesians 5:15-16, because the days are evil. Evil in the sense of distracting. You can get off track when using your time on stuff that doesn't matter, And I was reminded, it brought it back to me a few weeks back. Reggie and I were walking, and on this trail, they had put up quotes, I don't know exactly why, on placards that you plant in the ground, and all these famous quotes from different people. So we were walking by, and I was reading all these different quotes. And one was from Muhammad Ali, and he said, "Don't count the days, make the days count." And that came back to me, our series, and even in our podcast, and talking about time. And I remembered, wow, there is so much about that. That's really kind of what I think that has to be what the heart is desiring. Like even Back to the Future and all that. Mm-hmm. wanting to correct things, wanting to get things right, or make the most. If I can just go back and get this right, get this restored, take hold of it. And actually, the scriptures say that it's there, that God would help us to restore what was lost. We can't go back per se, but we can make up for what was lost. Like, I mean, look at how much Jesus accomplished in 3.5 years. You know, save the world. No big deal.
Well, I thought about
3.5 years.
Like what you're talking
well,
about.
33.5 years. I mean, he had to grow up and and learn.
I thought about it the exact same way looking at this topic this week, the redeeming the time thing. It is almost a sense, a kind of spiritual time travel.
That's cool.
In a way, for me, my personal experience, because my favorite redeeming the time scripture is in Colossians 4. I love the whole passage where it ends with him, Paul saying, walk in wisdom towards outsiders, redeeming the time. And in the Greek, that the idea is to reclaim the time, reclaim what was lost, and do so in a way that just honors what God's done in you as an example to others. Paul says that to Timothy 2 later in 1 Timothy 1, as an example to others, and to let your words be with grace and seasoned with salt, and know how you should talk to people, using that, reclaiming.
Yeah.
It's like the time that I lost, per se, like doing my whole prodigal son run or whatever, has actually kind of been reclaimed and restored.
Sure.
And in a sense, I don't know if you call that time travel per se, but there is this kind of an element of that there. I feel it in my heart, and when I just can talk to people, that I feel like I was able to go back to the future.
And it's not a judging of anybody personally, because we've all been there, done that, where, we've wasted time. Everybody has. I mean, we all have.
I did it this
morning. In some
morning.
way, you can feel it in your conscience bothers you. Like, why did I just spend hours scrolling? Like my wife and I now, we're talking about encouraging each other to kind of start fasting some of this digital world things. Like, even she was talking about it in our work and work ministry and the kids and the care and all of that, like putting down the phone and just being right there with our kids, like putting down the phone. You know what I mean? Does that
Absolutely.
make sense?
I was going to say there's something to be said for
that's a time thing,
for timelessness. Timelessness, that is really actually something really special. And that's being in the moment. When you're really fully engaged in the moment, you lose time.
Oh, that's a good point.
You're not thinking about it.
Where'd the time go?
Yeah. And when you think about, when I think about when I was a kid, that was part of the magic of all of it, was timelessness. You went out and played, and forever it seemed like, it just went on, and you weren't time conscious. It's like the older you get, the more conscious you get of it.
You do.
That it's slipping away, and oh my gosh, I got to do this stuff. And it's like so many beautiful things happen when you're not thinking about time. You're actually in it. It's like a self-conscious thing, time. And the scriptures do talk about being aware of it, but there's also something about being present.
That leads you back to what you're saying. When you're doing what counts, that leads you into, like, your talents are involved, your giftings are involved, the grace is flowing. Because then you get caught up in it. I think you're more aware of time when you're wasting it.
But there's something about it. Depends on what you call wasting it. Because like you're talking about with your kids, like there are times where I have to stop and just say, chill. Just enjoy this moment. Be with Phoenix and play this silly thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, waste some time with him. It's not.
And you're doing what we just read.
Yeah.
Making the most of the time, the opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of picked up with what you're saying there too, that there's kind of a rest there.
Yeah.
And it makes me even think of, I mean, how God wove that into the Sabbath.
Right.
Like a Sabbath rest. It's kind of outside of time,
Like stop.
in a microcosm.
Yes,
literally.
totally, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey, take a day here. I did.
Yeah. The Sabbath
just-
is one of the most craziest things. Like, we're stopping everything.
Yeah.
And you're just going to chill.
And there's something so beautiful about it.
Like, that's the most faith ever, especially think back then. You couldn't stop for anything.
Right.
And now the idea of the Sabbath is so crazy to people. Like, stop. I got a million things to do.
Yeah. What are you,
know.
are you crazy?
Yeah.
That has to be a big part of it.
I don't have time.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. But you have to be aware of it, though. It's kind of it's not a catch-22. One leads to the other, because the scriptures are so clear on it. Be careful, pay careful attention, then how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time. The LSB, redeeming the time, is in there.
I love it.
But I think the thought is, you have to be aware that, well, not to procrastinate. Like, oh yeah, I tomorrow. I've got tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the scripture saying you kind of don't.
Yeah.
I'll be with my kids tomorrow, or I'll enjoy this moment next week, or the scripture say no, grab it right now.
Yeah.
Grab it right now.
And I think that's interesting about what I don't like about, and I was complaining about like the Marvel movies and all these things doing multiverse and time travel. It takes that away.
That's good.
To me, I don't like, it's like nothing's real. Nothing's real. There's no real cost.
Yeah,
you
if
can
you
always
just
go
go
back
back,
and
yeah.
redo it. The guy comes back
Jeff,
to life.
what was that show you and I both watched on Netflix? Where at the end
It's
of
like-
every episode, at minute 52, they would just go back and just have a redo.
Oh, what was that show?
Travelers?
Not Travelers.
Let me look real quick. Oh my gosh, it was that exact same thing, Jason. It was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, calamity would ensue for 51 minutes, and oh my gosh, she just got
Reset.
shot just right through the heart. Oh, that's right.
You
we
know
can do the
what's
thing.
similar
Yeah.
to that?
It's like, who cares? It's all going to, yeah. Like, nothing
The
counts.
one with Tom Cruise was that way. It's a good movie, though. There's another time travel one. Because he'd get killed and he'd wake up again. What was that one? With Tom Cruise.
Tomorrow.
They changed the name on it.
Something?
Tomorrow Never
No,
Dies.
yeah, it was called Travelers. It was called Travelers with the guy from Will and Grace, Eric McCormick.
Yeah. That was the show.
Yeah, it was a show.
Series.
A series on Netflix. And it literally every single episode at the very end, we're going to have to just do this again.
Edge of Tomorrow. That was Tom
Edge of
Cruise.
Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. Oh,
Very similar.
yeah.
I
That was like
like
the
that one
sci-fi
because-
Groundhog Day.
But the scriptures say you don't get that actually. That's why it's so valuable time. You do not get in a game. Remember the games where you get the 3 guys. In asteroids, you get 3 chances.
It seems,
Pac-Man, you get 3 guys.
It seems to me like the scriptures say the opposite.
You
and
you
people,
get
I feel like
one chance.
people cannot accept it.
You get one
The
chance.
stakes are that high.
They
it's
are.
like, no way. No way this is
They
really
are-
happening.
Remember,
right?
let's go back to what I said. It scared me.
Yeah.
When I told you, when I really did it, deep dive study on time in the scriptures, it scared me because it was that. This is valuable. This is super precious.
Yeah.
This
Eminem got it
time-
right. You get one shot.
This time, yeah. This
That's a tough one.
it really is.
It's hard
But
to
what the
swallow.
mercy part is, he can take hold of your life and help you, like what Tyler was saying. He really can. He can make up for in a month what was 30 years.
Yeah.
You
That's
feel
how I
like.
feel. I just
Even if
it's
it's
such a-
horrible to even to just feel that way, carry a weight of, man, I wasted so. You don't even have to carry that. He'll help you come out of that.
No, and then it's a gift. It really is such a gift
Yeah.
that I'm so grateful for.
Here's Romans 13. Do this, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Therefore, let us cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. It's very similar to what you guys are saying, these scriptures. Kind of different same mountain, different views, but it's the same idea. Grab hold of it. Take hold of the time. Because time keeps on living. Dun,
I was going to go Pink Floyd.
dun. But didn't it? But didn't it? You remember that, man? That one stood out to me on the radio as a kid.
Sure. So what is it then? Is it this is just one of those other things that's just in the ethos? It's in the human consciousness?
Like
the time travel?
Yeah, if you want to go into the rabbit hole, like there's a Matrix thing here too. You got to watch being conned. That you got plenty of time. Jesus talked about a lot. Even his parables were about that.
He did.
Hey, we're give us some oil. We didn't. He's like, nah. Who are you again? You know, his parable of the ones. The others were ready. They had they
had their.
They took advantage of the time. The others were just kind of hanging around, whatever. Because there is a Matrix side to it, I think, where you could get lulled into procrastination on things.
And we do live in such a world of distractions.
Yeah, like for example, Psalm 90 and 12 is the one that got me. So teach us, it says, so teach us, Lord, to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And I went and, this was 10 years ago or so, I went and literally numbered my days. So what would I have been, 45 or something back in, about 45? So I gave myself to live to be 120.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, all right, and I counted how many days would that be that I've got left. And there was so many. That felt good. Those days, it seemed like millions.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I put it down into months, it shocked me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not very long.
Yeah.
You know, that's not very long at all.
Right.
And I had to watch it because I went and I taught it. I taught it in the service, and I saw people
panic.
Yeah, some older folks and stuff. I was like, oh man, I shouldn't even have gone.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
I shouldn't even have gone there.
Countdowns on.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. But the good thing is though, because there's some strong language here, like wake up. In here, it's almost like the Lord wants to slap you awake, or like slap you. Come on, come on.
But it's also hopeful, though.
That's what I mean.
If you look at it, you have purpose.
It's not over till it's over.
Like the day has meaning.
Yeah.
Like every breath, really.
It is the what the movie Darren was telling me his top one, Seize the Day.
Oh yeah, Robin Williams.
Dead Poets
Society.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it, too.
Captain, my captain.
Carpe diem.
That's a big part of the theme. It's very scriptural, is what we're saying. But what I was saying is, though, we have to watch the con, because in a lot of this, the new age that we're living in with the alien conspiracies and the governmental conspiracies and the people that will talk, they'll talk about, like, the alien abduction, all these type of things. Every once in a while, someone will show up who will say, oh, I'm from the future, and I've got a message for you, you know. And it's like, oh, really, do you? You know? And I would say I doubt many of those stories that folks, but even so, I mean, there could be some demonic things that people have encountered, and they're just lying, you know, acting like, hey, everything's going to be cool.
I don't really. I don't know what it is.
Just
I don't know
this.
what time is.
Yeah.
In the first place.
We're in it.
I know, but I don't. I remember reading Stephen Hawking's.
It's a hard one. You really go into time. You're right.
I would get like a little bit and be like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get it. It would be like every third paragraph I'd understand kind of the concept.
That was the whole thing.
But I don't get it. And I don't think we do. I don't think we understand.
That was the big deal with Einstein. He figured time out. It's actually an element.
But they haven't. I don't think they really have. They figured out part of
Einstein.
some
You
part
thought
of
you
it.
figured it out. No, but you know what I'm saying? He figured it out, that it's actually part of the structure.
Yeah, we're in space
An
and
element.
time.
It is, yes. It's a literal thing, like gravity.
Yeah. So if these things are Like I think
That's why
way
I think it's in stone. That's why we got to take advantage of it.
with Jesus. Sometimes he seems like a time traveler to me.
I came down from above.
Yeah, or Melchizedek. Like,
Yeah.
was that him? Did he just,
Yeah.
did he meet Moses? Did he
also,
show up in
the
these?
whole Elijah
Angel,
thing too?
and it's
In
not
his-
so
Elijah
much-
back?
Yeah.
I mean, we know there's been angelic appearances, and it's not that they've come from the future; they've come from eternity. That's the big thing in with scriptures. It's time, and then you've got eternity.
But any time that comes up, I don't know what that is. Am I supposed to wrap my head around eternity? It just becomes crazy.
You know what? Especially since
forever?
we've started
Okay.
this podcast, I've been looking at all the scriptures that say passes human understanding,
yeah,
and I really just love this.
yeah.
I'm just really like, okay,
Well,
I can't understand this.
Yeah, like here's Pastor Jack Graham.
It's beyond me.
I looked up Bible verses about time, and he starts out with scriptures on the timing of our lives. God's word advises us to use our time wisely. I think that's just in a practical sense. That makes sense. Use your time wisely. Because he knows that there are many things in life that can distract us from what truly matters. Do not waste your time so that you look back with regret. You do not know what tomorrow holds. Read and study these Bible verses about time to better understand how important every moment is in light of eternity. That's where the kicker is.
Right.
That this one is
Affects the other.
you're making some pretty big decisions here.
Yeah.
And I think you couldn't have free will without this first. That's why you don't start out over there.
To me, though, too, I get a little lost in that as well.
Absolutely.
Because
Everybody does.
okay, was it First or Second Peter? A day is like 1,000 years. 1,000 years like a day. Or James, that's God, right? 1,000 years one day. That's him,
Yeah,
right?
but it
Okay,
goes-
here's us. This is James. You are a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away.
That's what he's saying in comparison with that.
Right. I know, but I can't grasp that.
Yeah.
That's beyond me.
It's
I can't.
because it's so quick. That's the part of it.
We're this vapor, and that was 1,000 years
I guess
on the other end.
And that comes from
and yet it's very important. that
that's-
vapor.
Yeah.
It's super
It
important.
doesn't even seem fair. Like,
The deck stack.
quick, make up your mind. It's
Yeah.
really important.
No, but I get what Jeff's saying though. It
No,
does.
but-
It adds an importance.
No, it
A
absolutely is.
meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's really also something that every human being is craving deep down.
Yeah.
When they get up out of bed, is just some meaning, some purpose. Why am I here? What's the point?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think you do find that.
And I think instinctually, even the things that we say are beyond grasp, those are the things that we still know. Instinctively, we know this life's important. We absolutely do. And we know something's going on in the realm of test, because we really are making decisions. Pretty much since we started rolling, decisions have come on a daily manner, and they get bigger. Like you were saying, the older you get, the more you kind of like get more aware of it, that you really are.
Yeah.
in
Again,
something.
that's why I'm not a huge fan of the multiverse time travel. It takes that. It's like bumper bowling or something.
But yeah,
It
I like
takes
what you're saying. Yeah.
It makes it not real. You
Yeah.
can
Well,
just
Thanos killed half of everybody. Well, did he?
Yeah.
We'll see.
And what
We'll
I,
see about that.
What I like what you're saying is,
my least favorite right
yeah,
there.
and I think you're talking what these scriptures are saying, though. I think you're saying the exact same thing that they're trying to say.
Yeah, and that what you're talking about there, Tyler, I believe that comes from Psalm 90. It's like one of my favorite chapters in all the Bible. It's actually written by Moses. It's a prayer from Moses. It says, "Our Lord, in all generations you have been our home. You have always been God, long before the birth of the mountains, even before you created the earth and the world. At your command we die and turn back to dust, but 1,000 years mean nothing to you. They are merely a day gone by or a few hours in the night." You bring our lives to an end just like a dream.
Wow.
It's so the whole chapter is amazing. I won't read the whole thing, but it's
awesome.
very mortality is very front and center throughout all of the scriptures. Like, this is happening quick, and you're going to be done. Like, over and over. It's like shocking.
Yeah.
It's really shocking how often, especially the ancient world. I mean, I think death was very front and center.
Yeah.
A lot.
And when you're like
It
life
seems-
expectancy
yeah.
is 31 or
I
something.
mean, ancient Egypt ended up completely obsessed with it. It became their whole
Yeah.
life and culture. was
preserving yourself afterwards.
getting ready
and-
for death because of, I think somebody had a near-death experience and came back and said, there's some stuff out there. And so they started really preparing for it.
But it's amazing that go read Psalm 90. It's so good.
It is
It's so good.
good,
By
yeah.
the end, and this is because we're talking about redeem the time too. This is where part of where this comes from. He went through so much junk. Moses, he went through some crazy stuff out there in the desert and all that stuff. By the end, he's saying, "Help us, Lord. Don't wait. Have pity on your servant. When morning comes, let your love satisfy our needs. Then we can celebrate and be glad for what time we have left.
There it is. There it is.
Make us happy for as long as you caused us trouble and sorrow."
Yeah.
But that's what he's saying. That's redeem the time right there.
Yeah.
That's
For
sweet.
all of the trouble and sorrow we had, let us get some good years, at the same time.
We talk about that a lot here at Life Point Church. Often it comes full circle back to gratitude,
yeah.
thankfulness, contentment
Yeah.
with what you have, with this
Yeah.
vapor.
But it's true, and it's so funky because it's really, I get frustrated with it because there really is a part of it, like you say that, like gratitude and thankfulness, like you have to be in it. You have to be in it but conscious of it. Like it's a strange thing to really appreciate it. You have to just, because there's part of me, it's just work and gotta achieve and do the things, and like there is really something special about just being thankful for
And-
what you do have.
And honoring that time as well.
yeah, honoring.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go super dark here for a moment, but we recently had to say goodbye to our cat who we loved, and we knew it was coming. It was quick, but we knew we had about a week. I spent that whole week just randomly stopping and just petting Jerry and saying that I'm so grateful for every moment we had. Of that time, I spent the whole week that way. But I'm telling you, after the fact, there's something healing there for me, that I was able to spend that time just telling him how awesome he was for 10 years and how much joy he brought us and all that kind of stuff. And
That's
it was beautiful in a weird way, just honoring that time
Yeah.
that we had with him.
Because it's
As a
gonna
dumb
go.
cat.
Yeah, but there is that timelessness is honoring it because it's gonna go.
Yeah, because it is fleeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, several years ago, I'm going off your story into the human thing, the level.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It elevates.
It elevates.
It does.
Several years ago, I got so frustrated and upset with golf that I swore it off.
That's not where I thought you were going.
Never again. I'm done. No, and I quit. And I quit on, it was at the Mound, Williamsburg. I forget what hole. We were halfway through, Dad and I said, I'm done. I quit. It's so baby. Such a baby. And I wouldn't even get out of the cart the rest of the hole. I literally stopped. So carnal. A little bit later on, because I quit and I was done. The Lord spoke to my heart. I believe it was the Lord. He said, "You're going to miss time with your dad.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to miss time with your dad."
Almost holy, set apart.
And I woke up. Here's this wake up again. You got to wake up. Don't count the days. Make the days count. I said, "You're right." And ever since then, I don't care how bad I am or stink. I go with Pops golfing.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome because in the past few years since that time, I've learned so much more about him because all of a sudden he'll tell a story out of the blue as we're riding along in the car. I didn't know that. We've been around each other so long. I don't know. It's beautiful. I think it's really true what you're saying and I think what we're telling you all out there as well. We've gotten really caught up in this conversation. Time is precious.
I think it hits the heart.
And we're not trying to.
It really does hit the heart. Not
in any way guilt tripping anybody. Like we're saying, it's not over till it's over, and it's not over. And there's a grace and a mercy, and it's just really just like a shift. It's a little shift inside. Just put down the phone or go golf. Don't.
What's the old keggy? Cherish the moment.
That's Cats in the Cradle.
Just a little. Little shift there with it. And it
I remember the first time I actually paid attention to the lyrics, I was like, oh, this song sucks. This is terrible.
It's a pretty big
I don't
bummer.
remember.
Cats in the Cradle?
I do. Oh, that one. I thought he was talking about the keggy song.
No, Cherish the Moment's that's a sweet one. Cats in the Cradle was a total time song.
But there is...
But I like what Jason, I like what you're saying with that. And you can take us out here on this one because you got us going a while back when you were talking about it. You were in our little text club. You said, this time thing, I'm getting kind of tired of it, the time travel stuff. And you're right. Because they're acting like, yeah, and it's not true, really.
Devaluing the now.
Well, what's interesting about Christianity, at least, is we have this eternal perspective at the same time. But at the same time, it flips it on you. You would think eternity makes this not important. You know what I mean? You got forever. We have this view that we're going to go on and live this forever, doing all this who knows what. But it doesn't. It does the opposite. It tells you, yeah, you do have eternity, but you only have this right now. Like there is something special about right now. This time you will not have it again.
That's blessed.
Like there's something amazing. Like you said, holy moments.
Yeah.
Like there really is something like special to time right now. Eternity doesn't devalue it. The scriptures actually extra value it.
That's good, man.
And at the same time, I'm thankful for the eternal perspective.
Yeah.
Because the opposite, the time can go either way. We talk about how fleeting it is and all that, and then it's like, that's it? That's a whole nother view of time. You're just a spark.
And it's yet another hope that we have.
Yeah. So, redeeming the time. As Moses said, when morning comes, let your love satisfy our needs, that we can celebrate and be glad for what time we have left.